Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. In this lecture, we are going to learn the in-depth concept about red and white lesions. Why certain lesions are red lesions and the others are white lesions. How do they form? What is the basic concept behind the occurrence of red and white lesions? For starters, let me give you a quick review about the histology of oral mucosa. On superficial level, if we want to divide a oral mucosa, we can say that it consists of connective tissue and epithelium. In epithelium, we have the stratum basal layer, above which the spinosum layer, then we have granulosum layer, and then we have conium layer. Right. Same way, we can rule out the various cells in this layer. Don't worry, we will discuss the histology in a separate lecture. But for now, let's just remember what is more important in this scenario, in these various histological diagrams is that our epithelium, which is lined by, let's say, it is lined by keratin, and below which we have connective tissue, under which we have muscle cells. We're clear about these cells, right? Now, to deep dive into it, we know that keratin, it's a protein secreted by keratinocytes. In epithelium, we have different kind of cells. For certain purposes, let's just say we have keratinocytes, which secrete keratin, and then we have non-keratinocytes, and one of which are melanocytes. Okay. Then what we have? We have connective tissue. What does connective tissue have? A connective tissue have few major things. The very first is blood vessels. Please keep this in mind that epithelium do not have blood vessel. Connective tissue have blood vessel. It also have inflammatory cells, correct? And it have fibroblast, which secrete an abundant amount of collagen, correct? And then under which we have muscles. I just want to remember the various layers in this, right? So if I tell you that this is the most superficial and these are the deep within the skin. So let's just understand their function. What does keratin do? It acts as protective agent, protective barrier. When your body, when the tissue apparently undergoing a mechanical trauma, mechanical stress, a chronic period, for a chronic period, body will produce keratin to resist that. Is there something like debarrage? Right? For example, there is a protest going on, or there is, say, any flood coming, and to resist the flood, what we do? We whatever device, whatever the building material or whatever, you know, just whatever device we have, we just put there to prevent anything coming inside, right? For example, there is a burglar, bug breaking into our house. What do? We use whatever chair, whatever table we have, we just put in front of the door, just resist it. Right? It's same kind of barrier, correct? What does keratinocytes do? These are basically cells which produce keratin. For now, these cells are not of our main purposes. What does melanocytes do? Melanocytes produce melanin. Melanin have a very high tendency of protecting us from UV light and a very high tendency of protecting us from, say, heat or thermal traumas, thermal stimuli. Correct? So in this scenario, when a person is more exposed to more heat, more temperature, more UV light, person will have more increased amount of melanin. But since epithelium do not have blood supply, it get in blood supply, it will get in nutrition from diffusion only. Sorry. And then connective tissue. In connective tissue, we have blood supply. What does blood vessels do? Blood vessels give the reddish color. Blood supply represent vitality. It just represent vitality. So more blood supply mean more vitality, more perfusion. Correct. Less blood supply mean less perfusion, and less blood mean less redness, more blood means more redness. So basically give you reddish appearance. You know how you just scratch your arm and then suddenly just turn red, or whenever a mosquito bite you, it turn red because the red is sign of inflammation, and inflammation, in inflammation you have increased amount of blood vessels, increased amount of blood flow in that area. Inflammatory cells is something which is fighting against the incoming infections. So at this point, for starters, let's just say it's more or less just about immune response, but not much of a care for today's lecture. Fibroblasts produce a lot of collagen, and collagen give firmness. Correct. Collagen just make it firm, make it very thicky, make it bulky, right? And then we have muscles, right? You can have a increased muscle work, which is basically hypertrophy, and you can have decreased muscle work, which is basically hypertrophy. So why did I tell you all of these things? Why is it important? To understand why I am telling you all of these is, let me tell you, we understand the certain things, right? So protective barrier, so basically protect you against mechanical trauma, right? So if there is increased mechanical trauma, there will be increased creatine, and if there is increased creatine, there will be increased whiteness. It gives the whitish or grayish appearance. Correct? What does melanin do? Melanin produce protect you from thermal trauma, right? So in which scenario we have thermal trauma? For example, in case of smoking. So you know that a person is smoking, it have a blackish gingiva, dark palate. You know, smoker's palate, which basically a dark hard palate. Why? Because of thermal trauma, body produce a lot of melanin against you. So basically, if there is a heat, there is thermal trauma, it will increase melanin, and increase melanin means increase black color or darkness. Basically, make you bad. Okay. Then what we have is blood vessels. What would happen if you have increased blood vessel? Increased blood vessels mean there will be increased red color. Correct? Then immune response, for now, let's just for the starters, let's just forget about them. Like fibroblast, what does fibroblast do? There is increased amount of collagen. Right? If you stimulate the collagen in case, like for example, areca nut stimulate collagen, and what happen when increase collagen? There is increase fibrous band, and it make your cheek more foamy, more fibrotic. That's why this condition is known as OSMF. What happened in OSMF? Basically, there is increased amount of collagen. And what happened because of that? See, we know that 5 collagen is just above muscular tissue, right? So if say you have this much amount of space, right, and everything divided equally, right, equal muscle, equal fiber, but suddenly there is increased amount of fiber, what would happen? Will you suddenly just have increased amount of skin? You can't have increased amount of skin. So what would happen in this case? The amount of muscle will be decreased. So what would happen in this case? If something like this happen, it will produce hypertrophy of muscles, and which basically, and these both scenario which lead to trismus, as in case of OSMF, right? So after that, let's just understand if this thing is clear, what is the purpose of what? I'll tell you one another important concept, and that one is skin color, skin or mucosa color. What is the color of our gingiva? Pinkish, and coral pink, they say, or pinkish, or say more of in tone of red, right? And red color comes from blood vessels, correct? Above which we have epithelium. Epithelium have no blood vessels, correct? And above which we have keratin, right? So if keratin increase or epithelium increase or blood vessel decrease, in this scenario, you will have decreased redness, correct? Or what can happen? Like for example, there is decreased amount of keratin. Either keratin decrease or there is a decrease in epithelium thickness. For example, if there is the deepithelialization, basically desquamatize gingivitis, we know desquamative gingivitis in which or anug, right? In case the entire epithelium is peeled off, in that state epithelium thickness is decreased and blood vessel, basically it's inflammation going, or even if it do not increase, the redness will increase, correct? So if we keep these things in mind and we try to understand the various pathologies, okay, what are the red and white lesions we know of? What are the red and white lesions? Right. Let me give you a very simple mnemonic for that. We will discuss each and everything in one simple table. For now, let's just first I'll give you the mnemonic. So let's just discuss the classification of red and white lesion. I'll give you a very simple mnemonic for that. Remember P I A T I R O. What does P stand for? P stand for pre-malignant lesions. What does I stands for? I stands for infectious lesions. What does A stands for? Allergic. What does T stands for? Toxic reaction. What does I stand for? I stands for immunopathy or immunopathological disease. What does R stands for? R stands for reactions to mechanical trauma. What does O stands for? Other lesions. Basically, miscellaneous. Right. So And if you have forget the classification, just remember this Pietro, and with Pietro we know all of these terms. Now we will go for a very simple classification. We will try to fill the all of the names we know. What are the first pre-malignant lesion come to your mind when you just remember about pre-malignant lesion? The very first is leukoplakia, correct? So if there is leukoplakia, then erythroplakia will be here, right? If erythroplakia is here, then the another pathology is OSMF. These three are known for the malignant transformation. So these are pre-malignant, very easy, correct. Then infectious, what are all the infections you know? The most common infection is basically there is a organism causing the infection. And the best one is we can always remember candidiasis. Other one, if you which is basically caused by the Candida albicans. Do you remember any other infectious lesion? Hairy leukoplakia caused by EBV virus. So in this, you just have to remember the pathology which is created by any virus. What about allergic? Allergic, there is basically allergic reactions to toothpaste or anything, right? So basically allergic reactions to toothpaste. What else you remember? You can always write lichenoid reaction. What is lichenoid reaction? Drug induced lichen planus. Toxic reactions. Which is the most toxic thing people use in oral cavity? Smoke, basically tobacco. So smokers palate. Easy. What about immunopathy disease? Basically autoimmune disease. The most common is lichen planus. You can always remember it. Another one, can you remember another one? SLE, or basically lupus erythematosus. What are the reactions to mechanical trauma? In situations where patient is wearing RPD and he just have a very bad fit, Moshikato. Basically your reactions to RPD, mechanical trauma, or you can say frictional keratosis, right? Frictional keratosis. Even lineal, you can say, come to this classification. And another other lesions, you can just always write benign migratory glossitis, which is basically geographic tongue. You can write all other regions, basically hairy tongue, nevus, spongy, white spongy nevus, even leukoedema. This is the simplest classification you can always write in Reddit when lesion classification. So the question is this credible? It is credible. It is from Burkitt 11th edition. You can just always write this and you can write this in your exam. Correct? So now that we understand the concept, we understand the classification, we just have the name, we will understand the entire pathology now. What left is to fill the gaps, to link the chains. We understand that we have keratin, we understood that we have melanin, we understood that we have, and we have epithelium thickness. We will just understand if what happen if there increase and if they are decreased. So if you have increased amount of creatine, when you will have increased amount of creatine, what would happen if there is a creatine increase? Things will turn white. So appearance will be white. And in which state? White in it occur in state of increased mechanical trauma, right? So when would we have engagement of creatine? What in which conditions? We just have to look here and we know it's leukoplakia. In which other states we can have increased amount of frictional keratosis. Correct? Now in which other states? Even in conditions like in plainness, which is also a white lesion. So you just have to write all of the white lesions, even some conditions in lichen plainness. In white lesions, we have increased amount of creatine. Correct? In which condition we have decreased amount of creatine? Decrease mean if creatine is decreased, then what would happen? Creatine is decreased, then a lesion will become increased amount of redness. And when will we have increased amount of redness? In case of erythroplakia. Other red lesion, the squamative gingivitis, erosive ulcerative, either it's candidiasis or it's lichen planus or it's leukoplakia. In whichever term you have erosive ulcerative in this term, it will be same in decreased amount of creatine. These things are the squamative and erosive. These are same in epithelium thickness when there is decreased amount of epithelium thickness. Desquamative, gingivitis, and erosive and ulcerative lesions. What about melanin? What would happen? There is increased amount of melanin. Skin will become, mucosa will become dark or black color. What would happen? In which conditions we will have decreased amount of creatine? Decreased amount of melanin, sorry. Increased amount of melanin is smoker's palate because person is continuously burning its hard palate, increased amount of smoke, and nevus basically. What is nevus? It's basically benign tumor of melanocytes. Basically, this increased amount of melanocytes, increased amount of melanin. What would happen? There is decreased amount of melanin. Basically, the vitiligo condition. Basically, autoimmune disease. Person will become whitish. Autoimmune disease against melanocytes. Which condition is vitiligo? You can see or leukoderma. Correct. So what happen if you have increased amount of collagen? Is because this collagen is more than vessels will shrink, and vessel will shrink. You will have pale yellow appearance. Basically, blanching will seen. Blanching will seen in case of O, S, and F. Correct. What would time there is a decreased amount of collagen? Not commonly occur, not very important. Right, there's some Deep skin lesions we will discuss in skin pathologies. For now, let's just discuss this part only. Like epithelium, decreased epithelium thickness, which occur in case of OSMF. Sorry, we are talking about increase here. Decrease will occur in case of OSMF. Why? Because see, they are producing a lot of collagen, right? So more collagen, it will compress muscle, it will stretch out epithelium. Epithelium will become thin, correct? So OSMF, you will have decreased film thickness. You have either blanching, and because it also shrinking your blood vessel, you will have palish to reddish appearance. When you blanch the tissue, it will become reddish, right? Increase epithelium thickness, basically when all of these keratin lesions, you will just have pale appearance of gingiva. For example, in case of fibromas, correct? So this is the entire summary of red and white lesion, the entire concept of each and every red and white lesion. Don't worry, we will discuss each and every red and white lesion in separate class, but for now, this is enough to start a basic introduction for lesions. Okay, guys, so thank you very much for today's lecture. We will discuss in next class about we will start a complete series of these lesions. And if you like this, please let me know for which concept you need a complete thorough summary about the basic foundations in simple lesions. Okay. So thank you very much. We will meet again. Peace out.